Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million in sales? And we continue with this podcast series Unstoppable and having brilliant interviews with brave entrepreneurs, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the funny, how they navigate adversity and achieve the first million in sales. And today we have someone joining us from US. So Tom, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, Harry. So great to be with you today. I'm so excited for this conversation. So, Tom Suvansri, I'm based in the U.S., in Connecticut, right outside of New York City.
Wow.
So I've lived here for quite some time, and now it's my home. It wasn't for a while, but I love where I live today, and I get to enjoy this with my family. And I have a wealth strategy practice that I started about 7 years ago, after it allowed me to escape my job and the things I learned to help me become, I call myself a little bit of a refugee from the corporate America world that, can really be damaging for some people, and allowed me to pursue something that I'm really just passionate about, is helping people build and maintain their own wealth so they can live the lives they truly want. And so that's what I'm really great to share with you.
Excellent, Tom. And now let me ask you one of the questions that everybody is dying to hear. Yeah. So what happened, right? Because when you were an employee, right, you already even was making a million as an employee. What is this crazy idea to leave your well-paid job, to leave all this comfort life that the corporate world gives to you, because they pay you a lot of money to make sure you're very comfortable. You do have this space that no risk, everything comfortable. You make good money and you decide to throw this away to open your own company, which is a huge risk. What happened?
Yeah, it's crazy. And, some people sometimes were shaking their head at it. And, when I was working
they were
for
telling
this,
you crazy. You were crazy, right?
yeah, I was crazy. Why would you do that? And, when you see what the real life, really reflect and think about things, as I was watching my kids grow and saying, am I going to just continue down this road? And what does that look like? Am I going to be happy for what I've done and what I've contributed to this world and how I get to live my life? And I started reflecting on that a lot more and realizing that there's a lot of things I'd love to do and try. And the fear of regret was huge for me. I said, why not try to become more, right? Try to contribute a different way. And it was burning in me. It took me a while as I figured things out, but it was that regret, that fear of regret, that someday I would never be able to try something like this and go out on my own and do something different. And so I plotted my way and planned my way through it to figure out how I could get out.
Do you have any role model? Do you have any family member that was an entrepreneur? Do you?
We didn't. I didn't have that. Well, so my father immigrated from Thailand to the United States as a physician, and
a teacher like my one. Yeah,
yeah.
My father is also teacher of physics.
So he was a physician, and he had to start his own business and do all, but he didn't understand anything about being an entrepreneur, a business owner. He knew how to be a doctor and help people. And so never really thought about it that way. I thought he was just a doctor taking care of patients and never thought of it as a business. But in reality, he was in business. And unfortunately, he didn't know how to be a business person or an entrepreneur. So that, even though they made a lot of money coming in, it really didn't amount to a lot of wealth, and they didn't know how to manage it and grow it and maintain it. And I watched that, unfortunately, as I got older, and I said, that can't be me.
A life work, which is actually, I believe, that he actually makes a lot of money, but if you don't know how to manage it and things like that, I think that his focus was to to help people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He was a super charitable person, and
Uh-huh.
his life was centered around service. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, ironically, he didn't help serve himself and his family as well as I think he wanted to.
Yeah,
And we all need to do that for ourselves, but he just wasn't educated around these things.
exactly.
And we'll get into it more. But it's a funny joke. I don't know, in our world, like, people don't love paying taxes, right? Taxes are a big
Mhm.
cost to our lives,
Mhm.
but we can pay an ignorance tax by not knowing and learning, right, how to
Mhm.
do things or getting around the
But
right
it's difficult
people.
because nobody teach you this stuff, yeah?
No, nobody
Nobody
teaches
teach
you
you
this
this.
thing.
We all, I always said that most of the entrepreneurs, we are in business by accident. We just create, create the business, we're making a profit. Oh, we are in business. And now we have to learn a lot of bunch of new things that, that, that some of them are hard, some of them are easy, right? And there is nobody out there to teach us that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a difficult change, and it took me a lot longer than I thought to be able to be comfortable, right? The fear of it, just like I'm sure every entrepreneur has gone through,
Of
that
course.
the fear of failure, fear of people making fun of you or saying, "What are you doing?" And,
Mm,
would I say that I've completely overcome that? No, there are always days
mm,
where you feel that.
mm,
But, that's where I end up focusing on, why am I doing this, and how is this helping others in this world? And the feeling of impact to others is what
mm.
compelled me to keep going, right? And it
I never
eventually allowed
forget
me to
the
leave.
yeah, I never forget the first day, the day that I leave my job, right, to to do my business. And it was almost ridiculous that I was making the same money for working a month that the money that I can make in my business working only one day. And still I'm holding up to the job. I don't want to let it go. Until, because it's I'm in the same situation. My parents, they were teachers, they're teachers, right? So
Mm.
there is no entrepreneurs in my family, left, right, or anything. So we there was no role model around for me to learn from, or for me to see, at least. So those language like profit, tax, uh, margins, all these become a new accounts. All this become brand new to me. I didn't hear of these words never in
Yeah.
my life, right? uh, so, but eventually, yeah, I managed to let go the job. But it was not easy, because it's you have this sense of safety, or what
Mhm.
if I'm doing wrong. And on top of that, everybody around you, they're telling you that don't do it, that you crazy, keep the job, and so on, right? So so what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? It was about fulfilling your dreams, to spend more time with your children, or what was the
Yeah,
what was
it
the
was, it
key
was,
factor?
for me, it was, and I go a little bit back to some of which I didn't grow up as a very religious person. My parents were very much in Buddhist growing up in Thailand, and
Mhm,
faith was very big. And it wasn't for me growing up. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit more connected to spirituality and sort of
mhm,
mindfulness around this world we live in. And it really compelled me to say, what can I do to help more people, right? And feel
mhm,
like I have meaning of what I get to do, not just clock in into a job and make money, right?
mhm,
And we do need money, and it's just how you position in life. I use it more of a tool to help me live the life I want to live and do
mhm,
the things I get to do. It isn't about a success number or what it means. It's frankly meaningless. I can't take it with me. So the question is, what do we
mhm,
use that money for, and how does it help others? And so I just was feeling very compelled with that. Say, am I doing enough and using my talents in a way to give more to others and live a more fulfilling life? And so that really was pushing me. And I just realized I wasn't doing it in my job, and it wasn't doing enough for me, or I wasn't serving enough. So I decided this is a time for me to try something else. And secondarily, just like you said, you don't have examples of that. Well, I want to share and show this to my children, to have them see it's possible. It's not always going to be easy. It's going to be challenging, but even you could do that if you want to. It's possible, right? You know how it works. You can see all these people like Richard Branson. You think, look at them and you say, how could they live like that? How do they do the things they do? How do you manage hundreds of companies or whatever?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? He's still human. He's got the same amount of hours and days. And I know we are intelligent. He might be intelligent, but he also thinks differently, and has a different approach in education. And we could also do those things. So I want to show that to my children, so to say they could do it as well. And I wanted to play that role model. So it was kind of that was driving me.
Yeah, and in the end of the day, is what we were talking before the interview. Is not about even making the million. It's how you make that million, right? Because I remember our first business, it was related to property, right? And I was doing it for the money. Don't get me wrong, I was doing it because somebody told me that make the property, go to a property business because you can make a lot of money. And there I was there just to make the money. And the truth was, yes, we sold over 5 million on that business. However, the whole thing dried up completely. Because I think I was in the same path that you are. Like, if you don't have the purpose, you don't have the drive. If it's not your passion, even if you set in millions, eventually you will react it. You don't have fuel. You cannot. It's like being in a job that you don't like or that you're not comfortable. It's the same thing, right? If you're doing a business, you do it for the money only. Eventually, it's gonna be exactly the same feeling like you are in a job that you don't like. It's gonna get to a point that, regardless how well it's doing, you're not passionate about, and you want to live your life in a different way. And I think that for you being the role model also for your kids, right? I think that your kids can see, which is they don't have to be an entrepreneurs, but if they choose to be, right, they have a good role model in the family, right? They can see that daddy, okay, daddy, if daddy wants to go on holiday for 2 months, he can go. That daddy works because he want to, not because he have to. And the beautiful things about entrepreneurs, I think that, for example, us, we decide to take day off Mondays, and it's amazing. It's amazing because you take the days off Mondays, and all the restaurants are with no people. Everything is, you go to a club or you go to a musical here in London, and there is tickets. Is a total freedom these Mondays off, where everybody is crazy working. We decide that this is the day that we don't want to do anything, and this is how we do it, right? So having the freedom and the discipline, because it requires discipline to control your time, but at the same time open new opportunity. So tell us a little bit more about the business that you are right now, and what had been amazing from you, or what would be a big surprise for you in the way that you manage this new business, and this actually is giving you more freedom than the corporate job, or is the other way around, and you have to work twice as hard? What happened?
Yeah. So it is it's a wealth strategy practice. So that's what I'm building, because watching my parents unfortunately fail. Yeah, I started learning more. I started getting educated, started connecting with different people that I'd never talked to before, because we don't get educated about this. And the education we are provided is very narrow and very cookie cutter for everyone. And we know life is not like that, right? It's not simple. And, but in the financial world, they like to paint that picture. Everything's very simple and very robotic. This is the way everyone has to do it. And I sort of realized, I said, that's not working, right? That's why a lot of people are not wealthy, right? Because they're
Mhm.
trying to follow this path. And so I learned a lot of unique things about, different types of investment strategies and things I'd never been exposed
Wow.
to. And so I started doing that to build my own family's wealth. And I said, there are probably a lot of other people who would love this, right? To
And
be
you
able to
learn
own and
this on your
control more of their
own?
wealth.
How you
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
all
I
this?
just learned
Wow.
which we'll get into later, is that ignorance tax I talk about. Like, you
Yes.
have to continue to get educated and learn from whatever source you can find, people you trust. You have to learn, because that ignorance tax, I think about that more frequently, because it is one of those things that there's just so much information and education, and people have learned things that took them maybe 5, 10 years to learn. How can you
Mm-hmm.
extract that and
Mm-hmm.
speed up your
Mm-hmm.
progress in life, in your health, whatever it is? And you pay for that. You pay for that.
Yeah.
And so, but if
Sometimes
you
you cannot
don't
even
pay it,
come back of how
yeah,
much you
it's,
pay.
or do you want to go through the struggles of learning it yourself, right? That'll take you way longer and more costly. How do you pay for that, right? And leverage those things. And so I started learning a lot and learning about different other strategies and meeting the right types of people. And you know how it works. Like, the more you see, the more that opens up, and
Oh
the
yeah.
opportunities just constantly are flying, and you get inspired. So I learned that, and it allowed me, I was making enough money from my investments and everything else to leave my job and say, this is what I'm meant to be doing to help others free themselves in their lives, their finances, so then they can do the things they really want. And they're going to even be more impactful in their lives, right? They're going to help more people and find what it is that they're meant to be doing. And
Mm-hmm.
that, to me, when I look at um, I heard this the other day, and I think you'll get a kick out of this too, is, they asked Richard Branson, like, well, what keeps you motivated, right? You have all the money you could ever spend. You're doing all these things. What keeps you driving? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how old he's, in 70s. Like, there are still unacceptable issues in this world that happen on a daily basis. My job is to figure out which ones to solve and help,
Mm.
right? To make this
A
world better.
fantastic answer. Yeah.
And I looked at it, I said, wow,
Mm-hmm.
that like hit me right in the stomach. I'm like, what is it that you're meant to help solve and help others so that they can help more people? And that, just to me, it was just I guess, the epitome of business and entrepreneurship, creativity, innovation. That was really, and to me, that's what I hope for my clients. And I share them things that I've learned and
Mm-hmm.
connections I have, so that they can build more wealth, control more of it, so then they can choose their life, right? And choose what they want to do.
How they want to live
And
their life.
yeah, how they want to live, right? We've been put in a system to keep, frankly, a lot of things under control, right? It's a system.
Yeah.
And so this is the way to get out of it, so then you can create your own path, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was able to do for myself and my family. And I want others to do it who want it, right? Because I think most people do want it, right? They just don't know exactly how.
Exactly.
And it's
And the thing is about people don't take this wealth management too serious, and they don't realize how important it is. It's actually the key for the freedom of your life, and this is how important is wealth management. You have cases like maybe 90% of the people that win the lottery, they lost all the money.
right, right.
You have it everywhere. You have it in you see celebrities that they get paid millions and they are in negative. And all this is a consequence, right? Because at the end of the day, I think the human beings, when we don't take care of something, depend on the game that we're playing, which we are just an amplifier, right? So
Yeah.
if we do good and we make a lot of money and we know how to manage that way properly, whoa, we're gonna become millionaires and billionaires, right? But if we don't pay attention to that, it doesn't matter how many millions you make. It's not gonna work, because in the end you will end it up spending more than what you're making, and not generating assets that can produce cash flow by themselves, right? So, what advice or what message do you have for people there that doesn't take the wealth management seriously?
That I would say this is, it's not as complicated as people think.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been trained that it's so complicated, just hand it off somebody and they'll manage everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been taught. And I was taught that too. And frankly, a lot of the advice actually causes people to lose massive amounts of wealth over their time.
Wow.
If they're just willing to accept the fact that they're going to have to learn some things and get educated, and it's not a sprint, it is a long-term view. And that's what I think a lot of people, because, just in any aspect of life, whether it's your health, right? How do I lose that 50 pounds as quickly as possible, right? You don't want to do the hard work to get there, right? To go eat right, do the exercises, the boring stuff that leads to long-term success. It works the same way with wealth. Now, there are going to be cases where people can hit the jackpot, if you will. And it's far and few between. Like, to your point, even if you win the jackpot, if you don't understand how to manage money, you're just going to lose it all. You're just going to spend it all, right? It starts foundationally, just like as a business and entrepreneur. Like, well, what does it take to be a good entrepreneur, right? And that's the same thing with our finances, is how do you build the right foundational pieces to your mindset around money, and how you create money, and how you continue to invest in yourself and things that you can control. That will lead you to increased chance of success, right? We just want that. Hey, I get the first question I always get asked from a lot of people is where to invest. That's usually the question I get. Well, you're missing the first probably like 5 steps to building the right foundation, right? It's too far down the line, because people don't even understand and learn about money or how it actually works, right? Investing in and putting into some stock or something. I'd rather you invest in yourself, in building more skills and more education, right? You
can take your own control of the decisions, right?
We want to hand it off. And so for people who have, what I've found, for people who are building significant amounts of wealth, they're investing in themselves and trying to maintain more control of what happens, right? And
rather than hand it over, right?
Yeah, instead of handing it over. And that's just the default. And people are investing in things they don't even understand, right? That to me is speculation. You could win, maybe. But where I've learned and seen it, when you have more control, and you don't have to know everything, you just have to be around the right people too. Get the right advisors. But you are the CEO of your personal financial life, right? Just like you are running your own business. You've got to control it. You get the right advisors in, but you have the vision of where it's going and you control it. And we have been taught almost the opposite. And so that's what I've learned coming from both sides and seeing it now. And the entrepreneurial world is like that, right? You have to lead, right? And have the vision of where things are going and get the right people and resources involved to leverage up, right? Because we cannot do this by ourselves. It's impossible. Any business or even personally finances, you need the right resources and teams behind you, right, to do it.
And with the right strategy, I have a friend here in United Kingdom that the guy is building a dynasty. I'm talking to him and he told me, Harry, do you know what is a dynasty? I said, no, I don't know what it is. Let me explain you. That means that the children of your children of your children of your children of your children never have to work again. I'm like, what? So creating a financial foundation, and is leaving the legacy for the generations to come. And it's amazing, right? It's a concept that I never. A property investor friend of mine, yeah.
Yeah, it's great, but it's that long-term thinking, right? Like even with that in mind, like most people, their wealth dies within a generation or two, right? Because we don't teach this is a fault of the whole society around this today, is it helping teach our children, investing in our children, not that they don't have to work, but giving them the resources to help them become educated, right? Invest in businesses and they will own it, right? And control it. And they allow that to perpetuate
And
from
they also know how
generations.
to manage it, right?
Yeah, they understand how to manage it and the values that come with it. And thinking 5, 7 generations down the line, would you want your families to still thrive, like the
Mm-hmm.
Rockefeller family? Like
Mm-hmm.
that family and the
Wow.
way they've situated their businesses and finances is amazing. They built it and it continues to grow, right? And serve more,
They
right?
have
With foundations
foundations
and
now, the
businesses.
Rockefeller
Yeah,
Foundation. They support art in New York. They've been
yeah.
supporting my cousin. My cousin is a painter and
Oh, yeah.
an artist, yeah. And that foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, support his art, yeah.
Right. Imagine the impact that that has for for as long as you can imagine. We just are trying to get to which we're taught in America. Here, maybe you have it too in London. Like my goal is to retire, right? Retire, take that job that you don't really love, make enough money so you can now do nothing for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
That was the road I was on. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I have talents and skills and value. I'm going to shut that off and not contribute to society. To me, that just is the opposite of what life should be, right? We're here on this earth for a short window. Our job is to figure out how are we providing service for the rest of our lives, right? I don't want to be put out of service, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
a piece of tool, right? We're meant to help.
And then you
And
get you're so used to your job, and then one day you fire, and that's the only thing you know how to do. Now
right,
you are all, and now you don't know how to make not even $1, and you lost, right? It's a lot.
that's
There's
it.
a lot of people in find in the corporate world that this situation, right? That you are very well paid, so you have your big houses, you have your cars, you have everything, but because the job is always paying you that money on the day that disappear,
Now
and
what?
you right certain age, now you don't have these skills and the right, like you said, investment or the wealth management that produce these, that have assets that produce your income, and now the life of the people is it just fall apart just for lack of knowledge. I always say I want to share with you that something that you talk about Richard Branson. I when I speak in my conference internationally, I always tell this to people. Yeah, to Richard Branson, for example. Yeah, if today you take all his money away, all his companies and everything, and you left him outside here in London, in Oxford Street, with zero money, yeah, on the street, I think my projections are that in 6 months he would be a millionaire again. And why? Is because he knows something that we don't know. It's all about knowledge, and it's all about, like you're talking about, the tax ignorance. Yeah, I love this. The thing you should write a book about that. Yeah, I love that term a lot. So, uh, because at the end of the day, it's knowledge. Knowledge. When you have the right knowledge and the right people around you that you can execute that knowledge effectively, you can achieve everything you want. So my question to you is the following: where do you get inspired to give this 360 degrees turn to your corporate life? It was actually the biggest drive was that you felt that your parents worked so hard and end up with nothing,
Nothing,
let's say,
nothing.
and you don't want this to happen to you and to your children? Or was a book, a movie, what was within you that made you to take that decision and turn the wheel of your life?
Yeah, I it certainly my parents' situation impacted me very greatly. And I don't think I really realized it at the time, right?
Wow.
But it drove me to stay motivated to ensure that obviously didn't happen to me and my family ever, right? So that was a really big driving force.
It's hard, yeah?
But yeah, and unfortunately, and we can put too much pressure or emphasis on money, which I think that led me that way because I said but the reality is that's not really what I was chasing, right? And we can easily chase it. So I sort of realized like what I want in life is a very fulfilling life and challenging life, something of meaning, right? I think most people want that. And if you do that right and you're in the right areas and you understand why you're doing these things, I strongly believe the money will come, right? Because you are just adding so much value to people's lives. You're helping them do things and transforming whatever it is, whether, becoming the best leader or public speaker, like you help people do, like you're making them way more than they ever could imagine. And that's great. You're going to bring more value and you're going to get rewarded for that. And then we help each other in this world uplift each other. It's a much better place in general for me, right? So we've got our parts to play and we just got to leverage what we have. And so to me, it was inspiring to know that I can make a difference in this world. I have unique gifts and talents and I have to leverage them. I have to use them and tap into them. Unfortunately, I saw I wasn't doing that in my job. And I was kind of just conforming to life. And, and I'm not judging people for that because I lived that world. And for a while I was in that, but I said, I don't want that to be a regret as I leave this earth, which is a reality. We're kind of renting stuff right now, right? Like we can't take it with us. But for as long as I'm here, I want to at least feel that I'm doing something of meaning. And, we can talk around the maybe softer end of that, but I do. I think most people want that. But we get so challenged with life, with our finances and all the external pressures. I said, this is for people who are trying to figure out, okay, I want to control this and everything comes from the inside out, not outside in. We have the control internally to figure this out and find a life that we truly want, regardless of what that is, whether you have millions of dollars or not, right? We have that choice. And I don't think I ever had that growing up. I just was following. Now you get to lead, right? Yeah. Lead your life, lead your family, lead the people that you get to help. That's inspiring and allows me to get through the grind because entrepreneurship has been a grind. It's not always easy, right? It's challenging. In my corporate job, I could call any department I want. I knew thousands of people that could help and they're in the same company, right? Wow. Now you're out in the open. You're out in the wilderness. I almost feel like you're like a lion sitting in a zoo, and now you get released into the wilderness.
Yeah.
You got to fend for yourself. I got to protect my stuff. I got to protect my family. I have to grow it. I've got to do
be
things.
Very careful.
Right.
You have to be cautious. You have to be, But I think there is also space for growth, right? I think that this is the price of the freedom, right? I always even talk about what you call it the millionaire lifestyle, right? That not necessarily mean that you need to have $1 million in your bank account because there are a lot of things, right? That as an entrepreneur, we value, for example, time and freedom. Like I told you, just as simple as say, okay, we don't work on Monday, or if we want to take 3 months off and fly to Dubai, we just do it, and we take the decision in 24 hours, and it's done, right? So the whole, but this, it comes with the reward for taking the risk to be the captain of your own boat, right? And I think that it is with a lot of risk, it comes a lot of reward attached to it, and the reward is your freedom, which is something that no any money can buy, right? So the decision of you to wake up every morning, I have a policy. I don't have alarm clock. So I don't for so many years, so I don't have alarm clock. I go to sleep, and when I wake up, so to have this type of peace, right, that we earn it, but this peace came with hard work, and this peace came with risky decisions, right? And I think that we, like I said, the people need more education, okay, in about how to manage that wealth, because we know at the end of the day, everybody out there is working hard. Everybody out there is creating wealth one way to another one. Managing, understand that, and to avoid to pay this ignorant tax, you can actually have better leverage, and you can like I call it, buy your freedom. Make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah,
For you or
absolutely.
for your
And
family, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And it, just like we talked about earlier in the conversation, for other people to see it, then it becomes possible,
Exactly.
right? It's just you don't know it. You see these things happening on the news, and you said that's just not me. It can't be me. I
Exactly.
can't do that.
And the reason is that it's very few of us, right? Because the whole society works in a different dynamic, yeah. Especially my parents, they tell, okay, you have to study really hard to go to
Right.
university, and you have to get the highest mark in the university, so then you find job, right? That's what I've been taught, and I did study really hard in the university. I tried to get the best mark. I was not as good as a student anyway. And at the end of the day, the when I finished the university, the whole thing changed. I got degree in chemical engineer, but it was the dot com. So hey, we don't need engineers, chemical. We need software developers. So
Software developers.
5 years in the university for nothing, because at the end of the day I was writing code. Something that I didn't study, but it was what was needed at the time, and they're looking for engineers anyway. They will teach us how to program, how to do things. So the whole thing, of course, I don't blame my parents. They didn't know any better, right? Um, and I guess I did learn something out of the university, which is how to solve problems. That's the only thing I think
Mm.
we get a positive. Yeah, spending 5 years in in a science, chemical engineering. So every day the word that you hear is problem. You arrive to university, problem, mathematical problem, physical problem, chemistry problem. 5 years, problem every day. Somehow, somehow your brain develop the capacity to solve problems that actually I think have been helpful in my entrepreneurial life. But rather than that, I don't know. It didn't help that much. So now we want to ask you for to share with us what everybody, all our listeners are waiting for, right? So, in your opinion, what is the 5 step? What is the blueprint that you follow personally, and to achieve the first million in a way that you want to achieve it, right? Because we already agreed that it's not even how you make a million. It's not about making a million. It's how you want to make that million. Do you want to make that million or in a job working hard and don't have control anything, or do you want to make that million in a way that you do have control of your life, control of your wealth, and other people? So what would be the blueprint, your blueprint, in your own opinion? The 5 steps.
Yeah, Harry, and I love it. And some of it, we've talked a little bit about this already through this conversation, so I'll hit on those. I think of it just like a house, like you're building a house.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone likes the fancy things in the house, the
Mm-hmm.
fancy kitchens and, the pool outside. But what is builds the strength in any property or house or something is the foundation. You have to build the foundation to be so solid, because you can have the fancy house, it could just fall apart, right? The foundation cracks, water everywhere. So it all starts building the financial foundation of your life that's going to withstand you, like you talked about, not just for your generation, but even from future ones, right? That's how I think about it. And so you got to start there. And it's the harder work, right? Because the foundation is the boring stuff, right? It's the stuff that, sometimes you don't even see and no one likes to talk
Mm-hmm.
about, but they're like the fundamentals
Very important, of
of
course.
wealth building, right? And, if you don't have those right, I think you're just at massive risk and things can change very quickly. So I start with the basics, right? You have to get educated, right? This is
Hold on one
about
second,
educate.
Tom. Can you expand a little bit more in building a foundation, right? What
Mhm.
what uh, what does it mean in terms of build what we call it a financial freedom foundation for yourself? It means invest in property. It means so. What is it? How it look like?
Yeah, and that's what, and I think part of the foundation is if you're committed to this, that you will continually continue to get educated. That's where I start with, right? Because most people have never learned about most of the things, right? They've been taught simplistic models and sayings that people just regurgitate without even thinking about them, right? They never really look at it because they've never been properly educated. And so they just take things as simple. Well, continuing to invest in education around finances is key. If wealth building is important, God, just like entrepreneurship, you just don't
It's
learn
not
it in a
such a
day.
thing like you said, hand over, and I don't want to know
Right.
about it. I
Yeah.
just want my money back. This doesn't work.
Exactly. Exactly.
It
Right.
sounds amazing, but everybody that do that, they have high risk to lose the money, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So the educate, and I stress this for people, like the education is takes some time, obviously, and it builds, just like you were talking about why Richard Branson could be poor and start all over again because he has skills and knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that he can do it again, right? And that's exactly what we're talking about: is building education, understanding your sort of philosophy around finances is so key, right? And a lot of it starts with understanding your mindset around money, right? Because money can be very negative or positive depending on how you view it, and really reflecting on those. These are things that most people don't even talk about because we're just so enamored, like I said, around what's the next best investment. Should I do Bitcoin or not? I said, well, do you understand any of this, right? What is it you're investing in? So I always start with if people want to build it for the long term, get educated, learn more about it. Don't just take my word for it. You learn too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to build your own sort of understanding and philosophy around things. This is all personal. That's why they call it personal finances, right? This is not a one size fits all. So getting educated, getting your mindset sort of squared away on
I love
how
it.
you
Yeah.
view money, right? And there's a lot around that. So I think that's a really fundamental thing that consistently builds over time. The second piece, I look at this, and this is very simple, right? And it's boring. But you mentioned it earlier, just like a business, you need to know about cash flow, right? Where's money coming in? How's it coming in? And how's it going out, right? You just got to understand how money is moving through your life because that's just like our bodies. It's the blood keeps us
Mm-hmm.
flowing, right? You got to understand that because most people, unfortunately, today, money is leaking all over the place and they can't manage their money. It's all flying in and out, right? There's no sort of oversight. So cash flow is massively important, right? And understanding how it's managed and how do we prevent a lot of those dollars that are leaving us. And when they leave us forever,
Yeah.
right? Right? $1, if you save $1 and you let that invest or whatever, that's hundreds of dollars down the road, right? So people don't think about those things, that losses are hugely impactful. And that's why I talk about the ignorance tax, like, because we don't know, we're losing a lot of money, not just today, but for generations to come, right? I think that long term, right? So that's number two. And it could be in a form of everything from taxes to fees that we pay, right? There's so many things that are
Tell me about it.
extracting our money,
Tell
right?
me about
And
it.
we
The
have to
other
look
day
at
we
that.
check on our company and we find out a lot of software that we were paying that we were not using, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
So sometimes, like you said, analyze the thing and analyzing constantly because we I checked the other day and wow, we had to take a lot of drastic decisions. Like we have like 57 websites and the whole thing. We decided even to change servers and to move the thing because it was ridiculous how much
Yeah,
we were paying for hosting and for host of our websites and the service. It was a lot of money, and I'm so 1 month a lot of money. Second month, this a lot of money is it was bothering me a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. After 4 months, I said I have to look into this because I think it's too much. I had the hunt that is too much, and when we look, it was a lot. So and then we decided to look on the software now that we were in that space, and wow, we find out we did a big cleanup, right? So yeah. It's about have also the consistency and keep looking out of this often, right?
Yeah, right. And have
So
ways to
things
evaluate it.
change. At the time, the server was amazing, the price and everything at the time, but 5 years down the line, there are better options, more cost effective, and we got a deal, and the deal was only 2 years, and the rest time you're paying a lot and things like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got spot on. And they just go unnoticed.
And when this money
And
is gone, like you said, it's gone, it's gone. It's not
done.
coming back. That's it. You
Right.
paid.
Right. And the losses hurt way more than gains, right? They hurt. So if you can remove more of them, then you're going to keep more, and then you could do more with it. So that
I
gets into
remember
the other.
that day I have a very happy feeling after we finished the whole. We have a lot of tough decision to make. Our team was like, "What? You're gonna move 57 with us?" And we're moving everything. And it was everybody was a little bit concerned about the decision, but wow, it took us a couple of weeks, and that after we finished the whole operation, wow, I'm sleeping better. You have a sense of fulfillment, like wow, I did save the money, and still everything is the same. You see, now everything is exactly everything is working amazing, same like before. And but yeah, we have to look carefully, especially when we have the business. And now with this AI thing, every day come a new AI thing that if you buy will do X, Y, and Z. And oh god, if you they'll come with a price, yeah, monthly.
Yeah,
And you get excited about the first month, but this thing after you buy it, you it's rolling over every single month, right? Anyway.
Yeah. So the third thing, and I know the third simple one in my mind, you said it earlier in this conversation. Things can come in our lives when we never expect them. Obviously, COVID, right? Mm-hmm. No one could ever imagine something like that. But the reality of life is we can't control all those things. And life's going to hit us whether we want it to hit us or not. And so the people who can withstand it have a chance to actually get better because of it. The people that are not prepared for it, it could literally wipe them out. Right. And that's the type of stuff I really stress with people is we want to prevent any catastrophic thing to ruin your ability to work, to build wealth. Right. Anything can happen from life, health, lawsuits, you name it. Those are things that you got to put shields around your life and your wealth building to prevent that or at least make the impact less. And also, more importantly, put you in a position to actually benefit and as opportunities arise, right? Unfortunately, that is what life happens where when things go down, people who are prepared and are ready, have wealth available, they're going to be in a much more powerful position, right? And we never know when that's going to happen. So that's another part of it is to protect and ensure that, that we don't have one big thing wipe us out, right? Before we know it. The fourth thing that I think kind of relates to that is we need capital for things, right? To finance our lives, whether it's personal as well as investments. Well, who do we typically rely on these days are other institutions to do that and help us, right? Most of our money flies through banks. And so the idea is, well, are they benefiting from our money of being stored somewhere? Yeah. Right. And so we've got to manage that ourselves. And there are mechanisms and strategies around controlling our capital so that we can fund our lives efficiently and then be prepared to invest when ready. right? When things make sense. But we pawn off a lot of money to other institutions that, like banks or financial institutions, where that a lot of that money's flowing, and they benefit because they're just using our money
That's what
to
they're
make
doing,
money,
using our
right?
money to invest it,
Yep.
and they make the money themselves. They give us very
Right.
little, yeah.
Yeah. So that to me is a core
It's the
element
same
of it.
concept. The same concept. I don't want to know about anything. I put my money there. Even if you give me 2%, 3%, doesn't matter. I put my money. I don't want to know anything about it. Just give me my return. But at the end of the day, if you don't get involved, uh, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna you are
Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, would you just gambling. Could be, you can be lucky and hand over your money to someone and produce a lot, and that's okay. But if you don't go inside and learn yourself, is gonna be it's like a roulette game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah. And
said,
if you
the
don't take,
foundation won't be
yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly. And you won't, and you'll be losing a little bunch of money along the way and actually lose a little bit of control. So that's another big area that has a lot of unique strategies around it. But the last thing gets into the wealth acceleration, I call it, part. You've got the foundation built. To me, where I would start is, like we were talking about, is the more you know about something, an investment, a business, yourself, right? You can take some extra risk because you have more control, right?
Mhm.
You know what's going on. I invest in a company that's on a stock exchange. I don't control or influence anything that happens there. It's out of my hands. So I am betting on them. I would say bet on yourself. Your personal development, your skill sets, you invest in things that you can own and control, like businesses, real estate. That's where a lot of people have built their wealth, right?
Ah,
Because they are using their talent, skills, vision, and control around driving investments that will produce for them, and they can steer it, right? Versus handing it off to somebody.
mhm.
Do you think they're going to have your best interest at heart? Probably not, right? They're in it
Yeah,
to make money too. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm an advisor, so I help people, but I still say you're in the driver's seat. You have to with your own
exactly,
wealth building, right?
exactly.
Because if you don't, no one's going to care more, right? And I say that you don't take my opinion. You've got to you make decisions for yourself and your family. Here's what I've done and what I have helped people do, but
Mhm.
you have to decide,
I
right?
think that
And make that
the
decision.
the uh, the whole point of the institution sometimes is to use terms and words like derivatives, cofactor, this and that, very complicated terms to make sure that people that giving them the money don't understand what's going on with the
Right.
so they come with amazing terms to make it as more complicated as possible. So make sure they don't understand what's going on. Because if they actually realize what's going on, is that just taking the money, investing, and making a fortune, giving you a little bit, So they have to do a big makeover. And I think that people make a lot of money in real estate because it's easy to understand. And we already talk about the point, like only invest in things that you understand, right? If you don't understand the Bitcoin things, don't do it.
Hmm.
Don't do it. Yesterday, a friend came to me. Woman is in very early, late age, right? And she's not tech savvy, right? And she has a problem because she invested in some Bitcoins. Now the Bitcoin is not coming from the wallet, and she coming for me to help her. I'll try to help her my best, but inside me, I was thinking, wow, if you're not tech savvy, uh, and what are you doing putting money in these things
Hmm.
where people are there, they can even map and mirror a wallet fake, and they do it so well that even the tech people won't realize that it's fake, and you putting money in this thing where so at the end of the day is real estate, because I think because we all live in houses and we all pay rent at some point. The dynamic, how this investment works, is something that it does is not too confusing. And I think because people
Right.
understand it easy, that's why people invest in real estate, and that's why they make a lot of money right? Now, are other investment out there better than real estate? Of course. However, you do need to get educated. You need to learn, uh, and if you learn enough, and you have the knowledge, then you will be able to deploy capital, deploy money, and make good returns out of it, because you do have the knowledge for it.
Yeah,
But it doesn't happen without knowing. It's a huge risk, right?
that's exactly it. And you hit it spot on, Harry. I mean, and that's what, I often talk to folks and they don't actually know what they're invested in
Mm,
by
yeah,
just putting money there because we've been told that's what you do. Like that's what the normal people do, typical people do.
yeah,
And I think it's easier for people. It's just easier, right? Because we can just put money there, put it into retirement accounts, and put it into
that's what
whatever
you
companies
think.
you're
Yeah,
invested in. I don't have to think about it. And even if it's wrong, you know what? At least I'm wrong with everybody, right? It's easy. And I said, if you want tremendous wealth in business and life, you can't just rely on that, right? Because you're going to get typical. I always say this: if you take typical advice, you're going to get typical results. And there's a
yes,
reason why most people in this world are not wealthy, right? It's just a fact, right? You just look at numbers. And so if there are people listening to this now that want that, that means you cannot just follow the typical. It's impossible, right? You're going to get average results. So if you want to be extraordinary, unfortunately, that requires all of us to be extraordinary and do things that other people won't do, like learn and get educated, right?
I
And
spend
take
time
steps, take
and
some
get
risks, right?
control of
Yeah,
wealth and
right. Some
finances.
people don't want that, right? And I'm not telling that you shouldn't, but if you do, then you have to take some steps, right? Because um, if you don't control it, somebody will. And
Mm.
I've learned that over the long run with our finances, and where I've made tons of mistakes and I've learned from them. I said, "Oh, I won't do that again."
Yeah.
Right?
Especially when
Right?
you lose money, yeah. When you lose
Yeah,
money
right. And
a lot,
I
yeah.
hate losing money. So,
My best lessons is when I lose money, yeah.
well, I look
You
at it this
never
way
forget.
from,
You learn.
well, business wise, I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
lesson. It's a lesson learned. And but it's that's where you get to become wise. You
Exactly.
learn these things and you see it and things are connecting, and that's just never hopefully going to end for me, because I know in this world of knowledge, if you take a whole pie, I only have a sliver that I know really
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
right? And that's why I'm so grateful to have met you and learn from you
Thank
too,
you.
because I
Yeah,
learn from everybody.
yeah. And I think thank you so much, Tom. And I think that the most important thing that would be the sum up from for this podcast, the following for our audience, that I know a lot of people, right, that they have PhDs and they read a lot of books, right? Lot of books. You can mention any book about history, about society, about art, and they will know everything, right? And then you find these people that financially they're not doing well,
Mm.
and I'm like thinking, look, guys, you have read millions of books, hundreds of books, yeah, and you have a wealth of knowledge, and this bit that you need to read, which is how to make wealth, how to sell a product, how to manage your wealth. If you read this content and you learn about this, it will solve this huge problem for you. So that particular knowledge specifically, right? It can give you freedom, and it can release a lot of pain, and will give you time for you to do what you love, which is to read the rest of the books that society has written, right? Makes sense. But if you don't read those books, you don't let that piece, you're gonna be the smartest person in the room, but you're gonna be broke, right? And I do know a lot of people like that, unfortunately. Yeah, with they're very smart, they're very clever, they consume a lot of knowledge, they have read a lot of books, and I still they don't understand that this knowledge is key to give them freedom to achieve whatever they want in life. And in that note, thank you so much, Tom. I'm very happy to meet you. And I think our audience today is very lucky to have you and to learn from you. Thank you so much for your tips. Thank you so much for your blueprint that you share with us. And for every one of you listening the Unstoppable podcast, see you in our next episode where we are interviewing this brave entrepreneur that turned the life like Tom 360 degrees and built a path for freedom and being a role model for the families, for her family. So bye everyone for now. See you in the next chapter. Bye-bye.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.